Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Justin Harvey Show. Tonight is a very special edition and a very special announcement. I am officially partnered with L&L Magazine. So this interview will also be on that website with my first article, Off the Wheels, and I am proud to welcome a wonderful individual who is a wonderful tennis player, but to beat it all, he is also disabled, and I had to have him for my first article to tell his story. So at this time, I would like to welcome Akeef Moon to the show. Welcome, Akeef.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you. So, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing quite well. I'm very excited to conduct this interview. So before we get into the whole tennis thing, could you possibly give my audience like a background of yourself and something that also is possibly, maybe not in your bio as well, that people may not know? So.
Sure. Well, I was born with neuroblastoma, which is a tumor in the spinal cord. It was a late-stage cancer, but fortunately, I was able to get through it with multiple surgeries and chemotherapy. But as a result, I became disabled from the waist down, and so I've been using a wheelchair ever since. Mm-hmm. And so I've always grown up being in a wheelchair, which is, different from other people I met are disabled that develop getting injured in the middle of their life. So it's a little bit different. But since I was young, I always wanted my parents wanted me to stay active, so just getting involved in things like tennis. They put me in things like tennis, kung fu I've tried, also wheelchair racing, things like that. But tennis is the sport I fell in love with. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, I'm a tennis player, and I have a long-term goal of making the Paralympic team. And also, I got my undergraduate degree at UCLA, the business degree, a business economics degree, and then I also went to grad school and got a master's in sports management.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh, wow! And I understand that you've also been featured on the Jay Leno show. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, sure. So after I graduated from college, from UCLA, I was looking for a job, and I was able to get into this special program at NBC. They call it the Page Program. Some people may know. Some people who watch 30 Rock would know what a page is, but it's basically a good training program where you work in the guest relations office and give studio tours. And a big part of that also is where we help at the Jay Leno show, helping seat the audience. And that was an awesome experience where you got to be, the pages were single-handedly responsible for getting all the audience situated inside and helping out with the lines and everything like that. But wonderful experience. And at the end of the program, I was able to meet Jay Leno, which was pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of sad that, he just finished, his show just finished and it's moved on to another host. But I definitely miss that time. It was a great experience.
Oh, wow. And also, being disabled, and also I'm a disabled individual, but from your perspective, what was it like being in school and being disabled?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, it was difficult at times when I was younger because, I felt like I was different, I was thinking, why am I in a wheelchair? Everyone else can walk. And then I had little situations like for, PE or physical education, I was put into what's called adaptive PE, and that was separating me from other the rest of the kids, and I didn't really like that. And finally, I was able to say, you know what, I can do the other things too, just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, I was able to get into the regular PE with everyone else. And I think the struggle for me was just trying to become integrated with everyone else, not always having to feel out of place, which I had felt at times. But as I've grown up, I've learned that it is okay to be different and unique, and everyone has their own challenges. And mine is, my disability, but as and as and people maybe read one of the articles that was posted in the Legend magazine, that I've been able to do a lot of great things as well, so that hasn't stopped me. And one of the big things I've wanted to do is learning to become independent, and that's what I've been able to do. And I think as a disabled person, I don't know about you, but independence, I think, is one of the key things we strive to have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think even able-bodied people, they want to be independent. You don't want to rely on anyone else as well.
That's why I tell able people, don't take it for granted, because one day you might have it, and then the next it may be gone. So, be thankful for what you do have and what you don't have. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm always grateful for what I do have and all these opportunities that have been presented to me because of my persistence and, achieving the goals that I've aimed to achieve.
And you've also done some work in the White House, I understand, correct?
Yeah, so it was interesting. It was my senior year of college at UCLA, and my dad always encouraged, he encouraged my older brother and then myself to go to D.C. and do an internship. So the year before, my brother interned with Senator Feinstein. So, in my senior year, I applied through a program at UCLA to get into the D.C. internship program, and I actually didn't get in the first time, so I tried again. And then after you get in, then you apply to different places to intern. And I never thought of applying to the White House until my dad told me to apply. And I remember telling him, I have a chance. But, I listened to him because he always taught everyone in my family to aim high. And so I applied, and sure enough, I was able to get in, and it was the best experience of my life. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I'll never forget. And personally, it was a challenge as well, because that was the first time I lived far away from home, about 3,000 miles away from home, and it was a little scary because I didn't know if I would be able to get around on my own, how the accessibility there was, but that was never an issue, and it was a fun experience.
Yeah,
I'll never forget. Yeah.
I can imagine how scared you must have been, because I would have been, even though I would have enjoyed it, because to me it would have been like an adrenaline rush to be in the White House by myself, with no assistance, no one whatsoever. I can't imagine someone actually doing it, though. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, thanks. And, I did at UCLA, when I went to UCLA, I had my first, I think that was kind of the turning point where I became independent, because I decided to live on the dorms by myself, and kind of from there, I think I gradually started taking those next leaps and just taking that risk to, see what happens, and that was another step in just making me feel comfortable traveling and living on my own for a long period of time without my family around. And now with tennis, especially last year, I traveled all over the country and, been able to deal with all these different situations. And it's pretty cool that I'm able to, I'm happy that I'm able to find a way to do all these different things.
Absolutely. And how did your family feel about you moving thousands of miles away? I mean, were they scared? Were they frightened? Or
I don't think they were scared. I mean, my family always worries about me, but that's what great family or great parents always do. But they knew that I was independent at the time, and they figured I would be able to do it on my own, and they're very encouraging, and they really helped me develop as a person, just since I was little, and just helping me with everything, and letting me do things on my own as well. And they were very supportive, and anything I did need, I could always reach out to them. And
and this next question, Keith, is the obvious one, but I mean, there's a lot of sports out there and a lot of activities. Why tennis? I mean, out of all the sports in the world, what really got you inspired and started in the tennis sport industry?
Well, one of the things that I mentioned, that was one of the sports that my parents had put me in at a young age. But as I developed, as I kept playing, I think one of the things, one thing I did enjoy being in tennis is when you go to these tournaments, you develop a sense of community, disabled community, where you have friends you could be around, and you end up running into the same type of players or same people. So that was a big thing. But with the sport itself, I think it was just with tennis, it just gives you. I think all sports are mentally tough. There's an element of being mentally tough, but I think in tennis, one of the things that I liked is, especially in singles, you're on your own in the entire match. Your coach is not allowed to help you during the match. They can only help you before, and then they can talk to you after. But during the match, if you're struggling, you have to figure it on your own. And there's parallels with that in, my life, where there are challenges I've had, and you just have to figure things out on your own without anyone telling you. People can tell you all these different things, but in the end, you're going to have to figure out on your own. And within tennis, it's fun because I'll have matches where I'm struggling and then I have to find a way to fight back, whereas matches I'm doing so well, and then all of a sudden the opponent changes something and I end up losing the match. But it's just, I guess the element of having to figure things out on your own and the strategy involved is really, it's a great feeling, and that's one of the reasons I really enjoy tennis as opposed to other sports.
Oh, absolutely, and it's to my understanding, Keith, you're supposed to represent America in 2016 in the Olympics or something. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, that's the goal. I don't know, I'm still working my way up in the rankings, but, that's a goal I have, and, the last couple of years I've been really starting to compete more at a higher level and moving myself up the rankings. But, I mean, that's my goal, and I know I have a long road ahead, but I'm just going to, continue with the process. I have a great coach and great support from my friends and family, and just see where it goes. If I don't make it, I don't make it, but I just want to go through the process and see what happens. And hey, if I don't make 2016, then there's still 2020. One of the cool things in wheelchair tennis, as opposed, I guess, to able-bodied tennis, there's people at, past 30 or even older than that are competing at a high level. So I still have a lot of years ahead if I don't make it this time. I'm 28 right now, but I think I can go another 10, 15, 20 years. I play with people like double my age or even a lot older. So, that's one thing that's cool about the sport. You can still compete at a high level even when you get older.
Wow, that's amazing. Me and you are actually the same age. That's pretty cool. If tennis was, let's just say for the sake of things here, if tennis was not available to you, if it did not exist, what other sport would you have chosen, or path would you have chosen?
That's tough because I'm a huge sports guy. Like, I love a lot of sports, and I've played other sports for fun. And I don't know which sport I would choose. I guess basketball, or even I love watching hockey, so it'd be cool to try out hockey, even though there's a lot of contact and stuff. But trying maybe like the ice hockey, or like the sled hockey, or even like a roller hockey type thing, that would be cool. But I don't know if I can pick one. There's just so many. I love all these different sports, so I think any of those, I guess basketball or hockey would be cool to try out. Yeah.
have you had the opportunity being in the tennis industry? Have you had the opportunity to meet like some celebrity tennis players?
No, I'm trying to think. I mean, I've been to tournaments. Normally the wheelchair tournaments are separate from the able-bodied tournament, but I guess, just kind of going as a spectator to these tournaments, or maybe once in a while certain tournaments, or maybe a special guest, or one of the tennis athletes that'd be there. Like, I know one tournament I went to, I was able to get a picture with one of the Bryan brothers, who are great doubles legends. They're still playing right now. And also, actually, it's funny, when I was on the Tonight Show, I had the opportunity to meet, I just got to shake his hand, the tennis athlete, Novak Djokovic, one of the top players in the world. So I had a couple opportunities here and there.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And also, you inspire me, Keith, because I've been through something similar, because I've had major surgeries, with my disability. Can you talk about like some of the surgeries that you've had and some of the troubles that you've had? Because I read your story, and then you would have a surgery, and then a rod would break or something, and then you couldn't compete for several months, and have to go through the whole process again.
Yeah, I had, back in 1998 was, when I was younger, I wore what's called a back brace, and because I have scoliosis, so I had to wear back brace for the longest time, and one of the things that did it kept me from being independent. I had to rely on someone else to help me put the brace on, and then finally, around when I was 13, the doctor said, we could put a rod in to help straighten out your back a little bit better to correct the scoliosis, and that would prevent me from wearing the back brace. So in 1998, I got the surgery done, and then what happened about that, obviously when I had the surgery, I had to stop playing tennis for a while, and then 2 years later, it broke, and then 6 months later, it broke again. So I missed a lot of time from there, from not being able to compete, or even just staying active in general, which is tough, because throughout my life, I've always wanted to stay active. But the hardest time, I think, was in 2008. I ended up feeling a lot of pain in my back, and it was really excruciating pain. The day just sitting down would hurt, and I couldn't do any physical activity, let alone tennis. And so we had to go out and figure out, what the problem was, and we found out the rod broke again. And around that time, I was gaining a lot of momentum with my tennis, and that was kind of where I decided to play tennis at a higher level, where I found the coach that I'm with now, and making that goal of trying to make the Paralympics in the future. At that time, I met with him maybe around 2005, 2006, so that time I was thinking maybe 2012. And I was really, after working with him, my game improved so much, and I started seeing some great results. And then, this happened, and it took a few months to figure out what was wrong, and then I had to get the rod. I realized we had to fix the broken rod again, and it was an intense surgery. It was 14 hours long, and I remember along the way some of the doctors, which kind of upset me. They were saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be playing tennis anymore. I don't think it's a good idea. You're just going to aggravate your back even more." And I was really upset to hear that. I remember I was like crying to my dad, like, "Why are they telling me this? I don't want to see this doctor ever again." And so I did have doubts along the way, but in the back of my mind, I always wanted to get back on the court. And so after going through this long surgery, now looking back, it turned out really well. My back feels better than ever, and I didn't think it would be possible going through all these major surgeries. And since then, I had a couple setbacks. I had another setback, having some other pain on my rib area that kept me out. But finally, in 2011, I was able to compete and started traveling a lot, and especially last year. And then at the end of last year, I developed another injury with tennis elbow, which I'm dealing with now, but it's finally almost gone. But the point is, with all these setbacks, I'm not afraid that, I'm not going to let it stop me from getting to my goal of to the Paralympics and just competing and playing tennis, because tennis is my passion.
That's a great attitude to have. Now, during these hard times, was there any time that you faced any type of depression at this time, that you were, having this trouble, and the doctor's telling you, you're not supposed to play tennis and this and that, and kind of give us your family's perspective on what they thought you should do as well. So. I
think, I don't know if I faced a depression. I mean, it was, especially around the time, and when I realized I broke my rod again after 7 years. Mm-hmm. It was rough. I couldn't. I was also living on my own. That was when I was working at NBC, and I would have days where I would just go home and lay down because I was in so much pain. So it was really difficult, and I tried. And here and there, I would try to do some activity, like going to the gym. But so it was. I'm not gonna lie. It was a pretty tough time, and I had to get. My family was always supportive and talking to me and dealing with my frustration. But they're always helping me and finding the right doctors or figuring out the right type of treatment, and which I was fortunately able to find in the end. And
go ahead. Is there anything else that possibly motivates you as well besides just tennis? Is there anything else that motivates you?
That motivates me. Yeah, I mean, one of the other things I like to do. Well, I have a couple other things. I co-founded a nonprofit organization with my dad, kind of stemming from going to DC, and that's an internship program for Muslim college students to get them to intern in DC and kind of see how the government works and get involved in civic engagement. So that's one of the things I enjoy doing, and trying to help others and becoming leaders. And then the other thing I like is just doing things like this where, sharing my story, and I want to get into more speaking engagements, motivational speaking, and because I want to help other people out that are struggling like I am, or that may be struggling like I am, whether they're disabled or not. I mean, everyone has their own struggles, and that's one of the things that I'm motivated to find ways to help other people find their way any way I can, just if it's just from sharing my story or hearing another voice. That's what I enjoy doing.
Well, in my opinion, Keith, I've only known you a short time, but I can tell you, you would be a great spokesperson for sick children or, underprivileged children that, want to live their dreams, but they just don't know how, because your story is just so inspirational that I think that if you did something like this in the future, I think that would, make a total impact on the community and on the planet.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
So, have you lived in the same place always, or did you move around a lot, or talk a little bit about that?
I grew up in I was born in Torrance Memorial Hospital in Torrance, California. I've basically been born and raised in Southern California throughout my entire life. I haven't really lived anywhere else for any long periods of time, except when I interned at the White House. I lived in D.C. for a couple of months, but I've grown up, born and raised in Southern California, spoiled with the weather. I love it here, and I don't know if I don't see myself going anywhere else, but you never know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna throw a tennis name out there, and this is the only guy that I actually know. I don't personally know him, but that I know that plays tennis. What do you think of Pete Sampras?
Oh, I remember he was one of the people, or one of the players I grew up watching. He was one of the top American players at the time, and that's kind of around when I started watching more tennis on my own, or I started getting interest in watching the sport. And he was a great competitor, and he had an interesting game, and the serve and volley game, which is cool. And just looking back at like how the game has changed from back then to now, it's just interesting to see. And but I have a lot of respect for him, and all these other all these other top players. It's cool to see like how they approach the game and their different styles. That's one of the cool things when I watch tennis. You not only see what they do on the court, but you learn just how their approach is off the court and their demeanor as well. Everyone has shows their own emotions in different ways, and he was more of the quiet type. He didn't say as much, but he showed it on the court.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on social media like Facebook and Twitter and all that? Because in my opinion, Facebook and Twitter is very capable and very fun for people like me and you, because like with my situation, with my disability, it's hard for me to go places, but with the internet at the tip of my fingers, I can talk to anybody that I seek out. So.
Mhm.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I wanted to get your thoughts on social media.
Oh, yeah, social media is great. I mean, you can reach out. It's so cool you can reach out to people anywhere in the world, not just within the country. And it's definitely a great way of just, getting people, connecting to people in different ways, whether it's sharing a story online and you could share it with everyone in a quick second, or just, people posting things online and saying, oh, I need help with this, and you can just, in minutes you can find a way to, answer them and reach out to them. But yeah, social media is definitely great for, people like, that can't go around as much, but for just anyone in general, because you're able to reach people across the world where you couldn't do that before. So, and especially, I think nowadays to promote, to a lot of people have their own Facebook pages or, post a lot of things on Facebook to kind of to show their own personality with other people, and also by doing that, helping other people, like, by sharing my story, they'll spread across to other people, and they'll share with their friends and things like that. So I think social media is great. Yeah.
And if you could choose one thing, Keith, what would you want people to remember you for?
I would want them to remember me for the ability to stay resilient, not giving up. I think that's one of the messages I like to always bring to everyone. Like, I've had a lot of challenges, whether it's having to learn to become independent or, trying to get an internship or a job, or, with my battles with injury in tennis. I think I've never given up, even though I've had struggles along the way. Always in the back of my mind, I continue to keep going regardless of what anyone else is saying or anything that gets in the way. So I want people to remember me by how I haven't let anything stop me from doing what I want to do. And we have one life, and should be able to do anything you aim to achieve.
Absolutely. And you drive, correct, and have like a van that you can drive and stuff?
Yeah, actually, about 3.5 years ago. Well, I've driven since I was 17, and before I would drive a regular car, and just like any car. I think my first one was a station wagon, and all they would do is put in the hand controls in. But I would still, getting in, I would have to take apart my chair, and then put it in, and it as I learned, even with having these back issues, it put a lot of pressure on my back and my shoulders. So finally, about 4 years ago, I was able to find a dealer not too far from me, and they were selling Honda Elements that came with a ramp. They sent it to factory in Michigan and modified it with a ramp. So now I was able to have this car where the ramp comes out from the passenger side. I go in, I transfer, lock my chair in, and it's so much easier and convenient now. I'm not having to worry about putting pressure on my back and taking apart my chair, anything like that. It just makes things more simple, and it's a nice car too as well. I like it. So I'm very fortunate I was able to find that, and I think it's definitely helped a lot. But it's great. Like, in terms of being independent, being able to drive is awesome, especially here in Southern California. There's really everything's so spread out. It's really hard to use public transportation, which is limited here. So it's another sense of freedom, and there's some days I just appreciate that I am able to drive and get around on my own from place to place. So I love driving.
So how do you feel when someone calls you an inspiration?
I like it. I think, I guess it makes me smile because someone is telling me that, hey, to me it means that I'm actually helping someone, in some way, that I'm inspiring them to become a better person, or, helping them with a goal or whatever that they aim to be doing. So it's a great feeling when I do hear that as well. Whether it's, regardless of that, I don't know if it's because, if it's from just seeing all the different things I've been able to do or not, regardless if I'm disabled or not. So, I don't mind it when people say that, and I think I'm happy when people say that I'm an inspiration to them, and, I'm hoping that, and to me, I feel like I'm helping them out.
Mm-hmm. And from reading your story, you have achieved a lot. Because I had to read the thing twice. I mean, it was a lot of reading to do. I mean, because you've done so much. But what would you like to achieve for 2014?
2014. Well, I was definitely, obviously, getting through this tennis elbow injury and getting back on the court and, competing. Continuing to compete in these tournaments and trying to, improve my game. I actually got a new tennis wheelchair. So for those who don't know, a lot of with the technology nowadays, all the different wheelchair sports, they have a chair designated for that sport because it's built a certain way, so you can compete at a high level. So basically, the chair is it's just another piece of equipment that's part of the sport that you need to have. And so I'm excited to have a new tennis chair to start using. And so I'm excited about using the tennis chair. But definitely just getting back on the court and trying to get better and improving my game. And then also just trying to start doing more public speaking and inspiring others in some format.
And at the time of your accident and stuff, was there any time that you had to use like a power chair that was motorized that you couldn't, push yourself, or did you just use like a manual chair, or kind of take us through that process?
Sure. When I was younger, I've always used a manual chair, but I think when I was younger, my chairs would have handles where, I'd have people push me, but I also pushed on my own. And I remember, I don't know why, but I remember when I was in elementary and middle school, I would let people push me, because I don't know if they wanted to, so I let them push me, not in a mean way, just push me around. So I would have some type of handles on my chair when I was younger, but as I grew older and wanting to become more independent, my chairs started becoming more sport-like and didn't really have handles, so I don't really. So basically, for quite a few years, I just push on my own, having the manual chair. And in general, I don't like people I don't like people pushing me unless I really need the help. Because again, I like to do things on my own.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, one of my biggest pet peeves, Keith, was like when a friend of mine would be sitting with me, everything would be fine, and then they would put their leg on my footrest and just rest their leg there, and I'm like, excuse you, you're invading my space.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to you because I know, like, yeah, you feel like you feel your chair is part of your property, like it's part of you, so you don't want them to, touch that. And I remember, like, people in my family or friends would, like, put their foot on my wheel, and even though it just bothers me for some reason, so, I tell them not to put it on there because it is part of me. I don't know. So, yeah, it's definitely a big pet peeve of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest pet peeves, and then sometimes people would just, push me, and I not want pushed, and I'm like, what do you think you're doing? And, and sometimes I would be in high school, and this was years ago, but I would be in high school, and I used to have to nudge people to get out of the way because I was trying to get to my classes and stuff. Did you ever have, issues like that to where you had to kind of nudge people with your chair to let them know that you were there to get the heck out of the way,
Yeah, sometimes I keep saying I should just get a horn and people just move out of the way quickly. But, yeah, no, I would have to, I'll try to, I always say excuse me politely to try to get through, and maybe I have to tap their shoulder or something to get them to move out of the way. But, yeah, it can be a struggle, and just to go back to your point about, like, people trying to push you and stuff, I don't, that can be annoying as well. And one thing that, people, like, I don't mind when people ask, they ask you for help, that's fine, because, I would ask people if they need help as well, just like any other human being, but, then when you say no, you don't, you want them to just leave you alone, but there's some people that still think you need help, and then they try to help you, and that gets a little frustrating, but yeah, that's another little pet peeve of mine as well.
And another thing I didn't really like in high school, like when I would, do like physical therapy, and we'll get to that in a second, but when I do like physical therapy, some of my friends would, I'd get on my walker, and some of my friends would get in my wheelchair and start, wheeling around in it and doing wheelies and stuff. I'm like, geez, that is my property, and it's just, I've seen people be careless with, with wheelchairs, and they don't realize that, this equipment doesn't come cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I know. I mean, everyone is fascinated by the wheelchairs. When you get off of it, they want to sit in it and move around. But yeah, like I get worried that, I'm like, don't mess it up, or just please be careful with it, because it is part of us. We need the wheelchair to get around. So. Oh yeah, and despite your accident, have you ever been in any any other life-threatening situations? No, fortunately, after they got rid of the cancer when I was a baby, and it's never come back or anything, so I've been lucky. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had any life-threatening incidents. I mean, I obviously went through major surgeries, but they're never life-threatening. I mean, of course they were scary, especially the last back surgery, which was 14 hours, but, and I had to be on a breathing tube for a while because when they went to the surgery, they had to deflate the lung, and it was normal to be on a breathing tube after, and that was a experience I never went through before, but, fortunately in the end I was okay, and I don't think my life was ever in any danger. So I'm lucky for that.
Wow, it's have you ever thought about getting into like politics and making a positive difference for disabled people on a political level?
I've kind of thought of it. I mean, when I, obviously interning at the White House and everything, but I don't know. I mean, maybe on a different level, I feel like it can make an impact. I don't know. Definitely not running for office or any of that type of thing. Definitely, it doesn't seem to fit my personality to do that. But I mean, I would want to help, help in other ways by, getting involved in an organization or, doing speaking or something like that. I think I can make a better impact than, doing it in that way, or at least, I just don't see myself being involved in the political field.
Mm-hmm. Now, if there is ever a time that you have to stop playing tennis, what would your plans be then? Would you try to do coaching, or what would you try to do if, let's say, for instance, you had to stop? I mean, physically you had to stop.
Well, definitely, I think coaching will be cool. And then also, as I mentioned to you, I have a master's in sports management. So I would definitely, use that degree again. I'm not using it right now. I'm, working. My dad is a small business. I'm working there right now. I'm, learning about running a small business, and but it's not sports related. So I would definitely go back into sports and try to get a job in that field, whether it's more on the business/marketing side is what I enjoy doing, which I experienced through my internships. Whether it's tennis or hockey, any of the major sports, or working for a network or a team. So I would definitely want to go back into that if I couldn't play tennis. And definitely coaching would be cool, just because I can apply my knowledge and help other people out that, want to get better in the sport and want to play. So I think that would be fun as well.
And I wanted to let my audience know that you can see Keith's message in a bottle video on the LNL website. I'm not sure exactly what the web address is, but I can get a hold of Gordon Racusa for my audience if they need that address to see your video, and I'm sure that your message in a bottle is also on YouTube. But tell us about that day for your message in a bottle.
Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, I enjoyed listening to yours as well. I thought yours was a great, message in a bottle. And, before that, I was looking at what other people, kind of just to see what the format of it was. But yeah, I enjoyed doing it, and I just spoke from the heart, like about, my message to people, and just, don't let anything get in the way and stop you from doing what you want to do, regardless of what other people are telling you, and any obstacles that get in the way. So, I enjoyed doing it, and I think other people and my friends said it, was good, and they liked how I spoke from the heart. I wasn't, reading from anything, and I was just saying what I feel. So I'm hoping that inspired other people or would help others as well, which is always my goal.
I think that's where me and you really relate, because even though we're in different industries and different things, we want to help people and inspire people. Because I just want to give you a quick example. People in college told me that, me doing a radio show was not feasible, and I would never be able to do it. And like you, I've proved them wrong. I mean, I'm sure you've had people tell you, even when you started, oh, Keith, you can't play tennis, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, correct? I mean, you've probably had that somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it just, it's definitely frustrating, and I think part of it just people don't understand, like, I guess they're not aware that we can do a lot of different things, but I think, once they once they start meeting people who are disabled, they can see it. Because I have a lot of people are like, wow, you play tennis, and they just don't understand how I can play, so I explain it to them and see. But there's people that will say, I don't, they'll give me a look and like say, why are you playing tennis, or like, things like that, and I just ignore it. And it's awesome you did it too. You have your radio show, and I'm sure you've dealt with other types of situations as well. So I definitely respect you for that. And you have a great story as well. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And if you ever like you want to compete in this Olympics, if you ever get invited, I definitely want to do a cover story or a debut story and have you back on the show talking about this, because that's going to be a huge milestone in your career, my friend, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. That would be awesome. It'd definitely be nice to talk to you about it. Yeah.
So, in your final thoughts, Keith, what would you like to, and it can be about tennis, it can be about anything, but what's the number one thing that you want my audience to know and the internet world to know, because this is going to be on YouTube and on my Twitter account and on Facebook. I mean, it's going to be everywhere, my friend. So, what would you like to pass along?
Putting me on the spot here.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it's fine. I think, kind of just going back, I think just, find your passion and, explore that option and, see if it's a possibility. Do whatever you can to make it reality. And I feel that, there are ways to do it. There's so many other, besides Meister, I've seen so many other inspiring stories of how people start from nowhere and able to do great things and having to face some crazy obstacles along the way. And I think it's just, you just have to, if you do want to do something, I think anyone can get to that point. They just stick their mind to it, keep going. And of course there's doubts along the way, and you'll have these struggles, which I've had as well. And there's times where I didn't think I'd be playing tennis or, able to enter at the White House or, get a work, in the real world, things like that. But, you just have to keep going and don't let anything get in the way, and do what makes you happy as well. And, that's the other important thing. Always, do what you enjoy, because again, we only have one life, to be able to do what we like, and you don't want to do something where you're just going to be frustrated and upset all the time. You do something that makes you happy, and, don't let anything get in the way. I think that's my ultimate thing that I like to share with other people, and that's the motto I stick to, is just sticking, believe in yourself and just trust the process, and, all these experiences will turn into something as long as you stick to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I do have one more question that I must get in there. I can't believe that I didn't think of it, and now I've thought of it. Tell my audience what type of training regimen you follow.
Okay. So for tennis, especially last year, I'm starting to compete at a higher level. Last year, I played in a lot of different tournaments. I played like 12, 13 tournaments. So, I would just practice maybe 3, maybe 4 times a week. Try to go to the gym once or twice, just doing at the gym doing cardio. Like they have an upper body ergometer, which is an upper body bike. Mm-hmm. I would do that, do some weights, and I would do the type of exercise I would do is more tennis-related movements, like simulating a forehand or a backhand, and strengthening those muscles. But during the season, you don't want to do too much with the weights. you just want to kind of keep yourself active. And then on the court, just with the practices, doing a lot of, maybe one day of a lot of cardio. And, my coach, I stick to what my coach, has me do, and he'll change it up a lot where it's a lot of different drills, a lot of hard work with pushing drills and, a lot of repetition with hitting balls, different type of specific drills and certain situational plays, and then also doing games and, simulating points. And throughout, with the tournaments going on, like, a lot of it's focused on just kind of, what's the word? Just kind of, God, I can't even think of it, but basically just correcting any little things, not trying anything too crazy, not changing anything up, just sticking to that and just kind of reevaluating after each tournament. That's kind of, the training regimen I have. And right now, obviously, I'm just trying to get better in terms of my injury, so just doing, rehab work, like different type of therapy to get my tennis elbow to go away, and then once that goes away, then I could start getting back on the court as well and kind of stick to the same type of routine.
Speaking of tennis elbow, for my audience that are scratching their head and, like, saying, what? Can you kind of explain to them what tennis elbow is?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have thought of that. It's basically, not only tennis players get it, but it's just a type of tendonitis in your elbow/forearm, and, it can be really bad. I mean, when I got it, and I think I played through the injury as well last year, which made it worse, but when you would squeeze things, you would be hurting it, and so just a lot of pressure on your elbow, so any type of swinging motion or gripping anything, you would be hurting it. So I'm just, there's not too much you can do except to, put like an elbow brace to relieve the stress and just trying to just rest it. And it's kind of out of my control, but I found the type of physical therapy to do, called Egoscue, and they look at your body posture and alignment, and they're helping me realign my muscles, so I'm putting less pressure off the elbow. But anyone else can get it, not just people that are playing tennis, people that are doing a lot of lifting or working, maybe doing a lot of desk work, things like that. So it's just kind of, it's from what I've heard, it's a fairly common injury, and I've never gotten it before, but it's definitely not fun.
I can imagine. And if any of my fans and audience wants to reach out to you, are you out there on social media like Facebook and Twitter? Because I want to give you a moment here to maybe possibly plug that. Or do you have your own official website? Or
I'm just on Facebook right now. I don't have my own Facebook page, but I guess that's something I should start doing. And I have a web domain name that I do need to create a website. But yeah, I'm not as. I know you're very active on social media. I'm not as active as you, but I definitely would like to start being more active on social media. But yeah, you could find me on Facebook or trying to think. I can give you. I can give my email address or whatever. If people want to reach out to me, that's fine as well.
Yeah. If you're comfortable with that, give people your email address so if they have comments or questions about the show, or just questions in general, because your story is too good not to tell, my friend. So go ahead and give out your email.
Yeah, just Atif Moon at UCLA.edu. A, T as in Tom, I, F as in Frank, and then Moon, like the moon in the sky, at UCLA.edu. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I'm definitely happy to help with answering any questions anyone may have, and whatever you're struggling with, I'd be happy to help out.
And I would like to say real quick to my fans and friends, follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Justin Ray Harvey. And Keith, I'd like to say on behalf of the Justin Harvey Show and L&L, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Justin, for having me. It was definitely a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm glad you had me on.
Oh, it's been a blast, my friend, and I'm sure that me and you will keep in touch through email, and I will definitely want to have you back on a return show, and this has just been awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know, and I definitely would be happy to be back on the show. Thank you.
But you be safe, my friend, and I'll be speaking to you in the near future.